Hi guys, and welcome to Total Technik. Today we're going to be taking a look at a spring compression tool from Sealey, the RE2281. So if you do a lot of work on cars yourself, you'll no doubt already be aware that there's a massive selection of various different types of spring compressors available on the market. However, this particular tool seems to be exclusive to Sealey. We haven't seen this type of tool manufactured by anyone else, including the cheap generic Chinese brand. So it does seem to be a Sealey exclusive, which is fantastic for them. And this tool has some key advantages over some of the other centre feed types of spring compressors that are available on the market. And we'll be looking at some of those finer details as we go through the video. So what we have here is a centre feed spring compressor, and that becomes particularly useful, especially on rear suspension where you have a separate spring and shock. Now the way that these generally work is if you've got quite a wide rear lower suspension arm with the relatively small spring in the centre, it can be very hard to kind of get a tool that has enough reach to kind of grab it from the outside. And you find very often in those cases that what they'll actually do is they'll actually put a hole in the bottom of that suspension arm so you can actually access it from the bottom. And that's exactly what this tool is designed to do. Now a quick disclosure before we go any further into the video, we were hoping to actually do a full product demonstration on this and bring you a full review. And we actually have an Audi A6, the C6 4F platform that we intended to use this tool for. However, the hole in the lower suspension arm is 35mm, there or thereabouts, through the rubber bushing on the bottom of the suspension arm on the A6, and this tool, the hole has to be a minimum of 40mm. So that's an important thing to bear in mind because it might not be suitable for all cars. You've got to ensure that that hole in the bottom of your suspension arm measures at least 40mm. If it does, fantastic. However, as we found on this particular case on the Audi A6, the 4F platform, it won't quite fit. So that's a very, very important thing to bear in mind before you dive into this and make your purchase. So let's take a quick look at what's included in this kit. And I must say, first of all, the quality of this is really, really good. We did note that this is manufactured in Taiwan rather than China. We're no experts in the manufacturing process of tools, but we do know that Taiwanese manufactured tools tend to be a little bit more expensive to buy than Chinese tools. However, the quality on Taiwanese tools also can be excellent, and that seems to be the case on this particular Sealey product. So let's take a look at what's in the box. Okay, so first of all we have the yokes themselves. These come in pairs. We have two pairs in this particular kit, one to fit 60 to 120mm, and then the larger ones will fit 120 to 170mm. And what's quite interesting on these, when you look on it, they are actually sided, so one's designed to be at the top, the other is obviously designed to be at the bottom, so it's very important that you get those the correct way around. So next we have this main threaded bar itself, and on the end of it we have like a three-pointed kind of design, and that's what locks into the top yoke. We'll have a look at that in a minute. We can see that there's a bolt that spins, that obviously moves up and down the bar to compress and release the spring accordingly. We also have this extension bar right here. This goes onto the end of the bolt, and that gives you the extra space that you need when you're working up from the bottom underneath the suspension arm. And the last two tools that are included, you've got a six-sided ratchet wrench, ratchet spanner, at the top here, and then in addition to that, as a kind of a safety feature, they also give you the this hex kind of T-handled tool here as well, and we'll show you how that kind of works in the process. So let's take a look at how all these pieces go together. So as we explained before, unfortunately we can't give you a live demonstration on a vehicle because the vehicle we had in mind, this kit is not suitable. However, what we do have is got a brand new spring here, so we'll do a quick demo for you on this so you can get an idea for yourself on how this tool actually works. So first of all, you take the upper yoke and you find a position that you're happy with, and you just sit that in place. You do the same with the second yoke. Again, find somewhere where you're happy that it will fit and put that into situ as well. So I've just turned this onto its side, just to make it a little bit easier for me to illustrate for you. This is the bottom end here. So next you're going to take the threaded bolt and you feed that from the bottom through the first yoke, through the second one, then you twist it and lock it into place. So next, put the extension bar on, so that would feed up through your hole attached to the bottom of your bolt. Now when you're actually compressing the spring, it's very, very important, obviously, that at least one of these locks into situ. So you've got to make sure that you're happy with that as we start to tighten it up, because you don't want that slipping out. There's a little tool that's included to help prevent that as well. So your 6-sided ratchet spanner is designed to go onto the end here, and to actually start tightening the compressor up. However, there's one little extra feature that we need to remember to do when we do this, which is purely for safety. So as we mentioned before, right at the very top there, we've got that little 3-spoked thing. We've got to ensure that that doesn't slip out of place. And obviously, as this gets tighter and you're turning it and actually putting some pressure on this, when you're doing this in real life, what might tend to happen if you're very unlucky is that this top bit could, in theory, spin out, and then obviously the whole thing would ping out, which could be a potential safety issue. So Sealey have actually included this hex head T-bar handle tool here, and what this does on the bottom of your threaded bar is actually got a size 8, it is a hex that fits into. So what you can do is, whilst you are tightening it, you can just ensure by monitoring it. And basically, all you're doing with the rear handle here is all you're doing is ensuring that this doesn't turn. So as long as this never turns, you know that that the piece on the end there is never turning either. So it's just a way of kind of monitoring it as it gets tighter, that the whole bar isn't turning, and so it can't spring out on the top. So if you lock it at the bottom and tighten it up, obviously you know the top's not turning, if that makes any sense. So that's why you get the little T-handled hex tool as well. Obviously, we're just doing a quick demonstration here to kind of show you the principle of how this works. We're only compressing 2 coils, as you can see. In the real world, you probably want to do 3 at least, depending on the length of the spring. So what you want to do is just keep using this tool, and obviously this will draw these closer and closer together until the spring is compressed enough that it can be removed from situ. And that's kind of the entire theory of how this tool works. Okay, so you may be looking at this and thinking, well, yeah, okay, that's great, that seems to work fine. However, there are other similar products that are on the market that have a kind of a centre fed, where you feed up from the bottom into the middle of the spring. There are other ones available, and yes, there are. However, this one is particularly good because this will compress all the way down to 3 centimetres, 30 millimetres, which is tiny. So if you imagine you've got 2 or 3 coils in there, 3 centimetres will be beyond the width of those coils, so you can get those coils so they're almost touching. Now there's another tool on the market which is kind of openly available, and it's probably about half the price of this one, to be honest, and it is available from the unbranded generic Chinese manufacturers. If you go on and do a search for Mercedes spring compressor, that seems to be what they're most often referred to as, although they do work on other cars. You've got a very, very similar principle. You've got an upper and a lower yoke, and you've got a section that goes up from the centre and compresses. But what's very different about that particular tool is that if you look at it carefully, the actual bar itself is kind of telescopic, comes in 3 sections. Now the minimum that tool can compress to is 97 millimetres, and there's a massive difference between 97 millimetres and 30 millimetres. So that's where this tool really comes into its own. On the Audi A6 that we were hoping to demonstrate for you. The hole, as you can see, the spring's not particularly long, but the whole gap that we had to work in was maybe 25 centimetres, something like that. And from 25 centimetres you've got to grab as much spring as you can and then compress it down. And if you can only compress it down to kind of 10 centimetres, you're not going to get enough compression to get a spring like that out. It's fine on quite a long spring, so I know some of the Mercs have quite long springs compared to Audis and things like that. That's where they kind of come into their own. However, a tool like this will literally take that spring right the way down to 3 centimetres. So that's something really, really important, and one of the key advantages that this product has over the vast majority that are out there on the market now. However, one thing we should talk about that we haven't spoken about is the price on this product. This has a recommended retail price from Sealey of around £240. However, as tends to be the case with Sealey, the recommended retail price doesn't have much of a relation to reality. And if you go shopping online, for example on Amazon or eBay, you can find this tool for about £160, which is around the $200 mark, somewhere around there. So it's not the cheapest tool. You can get, as I mentioned before, some of those Mercedes type telescopic coil compressors. They're about £60, so they're kind of less than half the price of this. However, they don't tend to have the quality that you'll find from Sealey, to be fair, and of course that tool, as I said before, will not compress a spring right down to 3 centimetres like this will, so in that regard it's quite unique. Now at £160, all depends what your use for it. Obviously if you're a professional garage and you're going to be using this tool to actually make money from, then £160, no problem at all, you're going to make your money back over a couple of jobs. However, if you are an individual hoping to do this as a bit of a DIY project, then it can be expensive, especially if you only need to replace one spring on your car. However, if you need to replace both springs on your car, then the cost might be offset by what you would pay a garage in labour to do the job once, and that's kind of at your own discretion really. You've kind of got to work out how much this tool is worth to you. But I've got to be honest, about £160, I think it's priced about right. It's not. I've seen kind of similar-ish tools from some of the Scandinavian makers. I don't want to name any other brands, but they come in about £500. They are designed for professional use. But when you're getting into that kind of money, that kind of blows DIY users completely out of the water. £160, yes, it's a bit of a sting if you're a DIY enthusiast. Yes, it is, but it is it is an investment. This will, this tool really should last forever. And to be honest with you, even if you bought this, kept it for a couple of years and sold it, you'd probably get most of your money back as well. So do bear that in mind. The tool has an ongoing value. So look, depends what you want the tool for as to how much value you will find from this tool. But the tool's an excellent piece of kit, and I think about £160. Yeah, it would be nice to see it around the £120, £130 mark. That would be great. But I think at £160, it's not silly. So yeah, I think the value there is fair. So there we have it, guys. That is the summary of the Sealey RE2281. Now the important thing to remember with this, which is the thing that kind of caught us out a little bit, is the actual main bolt here, and also on the circumference of the head of the tool here actually measures in at 40 millimeters. So it's very, very important that the hole in the bottom of your suspension arm measures 40 millimeters, not 35, as unfortunately was the roadblock that we came to today. So obviously when you try to feed this up, 40 is not going to go through 35. But on most kind of larger cars, 4x4s, things of that nature, this will fit many, many models. But that's one thing that you must bear in mind before you purchase this, is to check the hole in the bottom of the suspension arm, get that measured. It's a shame that it is quite so large. It would be nice if they'd have taken this down to 30 millimeters. This would have this would fit the vast majority of cars that are out there. At 40 millimeters, just that tiny little bit bigger, and that probably will knock off maybe kind of 25% of the cars that it could potentially have worked on. So that's a shame, but do bear that in mind. So that's it. We hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. Thank you for supporting us. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be sure to check out our website, totaltechnik.com, and we'll see you soon.